Yellowstone National Park has myths and legends that tell the story of how it became a national park in the first place. Yellowstone is home to numerous animal species, plant species, and has many geological aspects to take in. Yellowstone is a wilderness area, and you may be wondering what that means. This means that Yellowstone is protected against humans, and there's efforts to reduce the damage done to the given area. Yellowstone wasn't always protected, though, and here's how it became a national park. There are two sides to my story. There is the myth, and there is what we know. The myth explains that in the 1980s, there were early explorers. They all came to sit around a campfire in between two of the biggest rivers that are still part of my natural beauty today. Like many explorers, they shared stories as they sat around the campfire. After a while, they all decided the land of Yellowstone was too precious and it needed to be preserved. This is the myth of how I became a national park. Although this seems like a crazy story, much of it is true. But creating a national park is more complex than saying, hey, let's turn this land into a national park and preserve all the things that it has to offer. Yes, the explorers were real, and yes, they did want to preserve the land. But how did they do it? A park bill was passed in 1871 to preserve the Yamasett Valley in California. This bill, along with photographs, sketches, and paintings, were used to talk with Congress and bringing out the beauty of the park that it had to offer. Yet, I didn't become a national park for another year. In March of 1872, President Grant signed the National Park Protection Act, and this is the day that I was born. This is the day the first national park was established in the United States. Now that the land was preserved, how were the explorers to protect it? Well, the Army took over after many years of trying to create laws and regulations to keep the park pristine. The Army did things such as create regulations with punishments if someone were not to follow these rules. One of the biggest issues I faced was poachers and the fact that they were killing my bison. This created a threat to the bison, so the Army started punishing anyone who killed an animal within the boundaries of the park. In 1894, the Park Protection Act was redesigned and re-implemented in the park. Emerson Hugh was the first person to be arrested and was the reason behind the act. He killed a bison within the boundaries, which led the Army to believe that the park needed to further protect its treasures that it had to offer. When World War II came around, many of the Army members had to leave to serve their countries, thus leaving the park unattended. This was the call for a National Park Service. The National Park Service was established in 1960. There were individuals that would protect the park at all costs, and there was no other obligations to come in between the tasks that they had and another job. In 1918, the first rangers were established in my park. They consisted of veterans of the Army. Over the years, they established what would be used for many years, a management framework that would be used to administer the parks and other parks surrounding the area. Today, our park service is park rangers all over the United States. As you can see, my story has a lot to it, and establishing a park isn't easy. Explorers had to discover the land, create bills and acts, and had to establish them, and then pass them through Congress. And there needed to be someone around to manage and protect the land against human dangers. Today, Yellowstone is a beautiful park that has thousands of visitors each year. Welcome to the first national park of the United States.